All right. Welcome, everyone, to week 5 of the SRX season. We're joined by NASCAR Cup champion Brad Keselowski and SRX CEO Don Hawk. Starting firmly on time today, as Brad has a 1:30 commitment that we're going to be respectful of. So we're going to jump right into it. Before we take questions, we're going to let Brad and Don give an opening statement on their thoughts on the SRX season thus far and what they're looking forward to in the final 2 races. So we'll start with Brad.
Yeah, well, the last 2 weeks have been a lot of fun for me in both SRX and NASCAR. And on the SRX side, almost won the race last week in Berlin. And that was a great track to be at, great presence. And I've kind of figured out what I need out of those cars to run well. And that, up to second in points, which feels good. And hopefully we can make a run for the championship here in the final 2 races, with Eldora being this weekend or this week. I gotta remember Thursdays here. But Eldora being this week on Thursday, I'm really looking forward to that challenge. I've been there once in a truck. It didn't go that well, but I learned a ton from it. And I'm hopeful to apply that come Thursday.
Yeah, welcome to the call, Brad, and welcome everybody else. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say congratulations to RFK. And, you got a big win at Michigan. You finished 4th. 2 cars in the top 5. That's hard to do these days. So congratulations. I've seen you build a first-class organization before with your truck team, and I don't know how many of those guys are now driving in Cup. So congratulations on that. And we're just glad to have you at SRX.
Thank you. Glad to be here. And just want to win here. I'm having a lot of fun. And the idea of racing on Thursdays is to me opens up a lot of doors for the series and for me personally to be a part of it. And I'm just enjoying the challenge. And it's nice to be able to race, and when the race is over, just go home and not have to worry about everything else. I know, Hawk, you're in Eldora right now, worried about everything else. Thanks for worrying about it for me.
Yeah, you got it.
Great. So we're going to take some questions from the media now. If you have anything specific, please raise your hand and we'll go through that in the order they've come up. So we're going to start with Mitchell Brewer.
Brad, as someone who is both an owner and a driver in the series and is trying to battle to get into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, how do you find time for a full-time commitment in SRX, and how much of a joy has it brought to your schedule?
Well, the fact that it's on Thursdays, Mitchell, makes it so much easier for me. And, like I was saying, I probably would not have done it if it wasn't on Thursdays. So being on Thursdays and, knowing some of the guys that work on the cars has made it fun for me. And, and that said, I used to run the Xfinity Series full time throughout the entire season. So, from that perspective, it's not a big challenge on the workload. And it is also nice that, you go there and you have the 5 warm-up laps and go race. So there's not a lot of, peripheral responsibilities. So it actually balances really well. And I'm glad to be a part of it, Mitchell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mitchell. We're going to go to Daniel McFadden.
I got 2 questions. First, Brad, when it was announced that you were going to be doing the full season of SRX, you said it was primarily because you really wanted to have more seat time, given that you have so much less seat time on the NASCAR side. So I was curious, especially over the last 5 races, you finished 6th or better on the Cup side. So do you think there's been any correlation between what you've been doing at SRX and Cup?
Yeah, Daniel, honestly, I do. I ran the Richmond race here, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, and that coincided with running in Motor Mile. And I feel like just getting in that rhythm of running races. I'm probably more of a rhythm person than I'd like to admit. And when that rhythm gets disrupted and you're not racing enough, I personally lose confidence. I want the seat time. I want the reps. And I know the cars don't drive the same, and we're not at the same tracks, but it's still racing, and I want to race. So, you see guys like Kyle Larson out there running 3-4 times a week. I think Kyle Busch, a lot of late model racing, and obviously he did SRX the last 2 weeks. And these guys are getting a lot of reps. And I think there's a lot to be said for that.
My second question is NASCAR specific. Yesterday was Castrol's first Cup win as a primary sponsor ever, and its first overall win as a primary sponsor since 1999 with Casey Atwood. So I'm wondering, like in the last 24 hours, what have the conversations been like with you and Castrol, and how significant is this for them when it comes to just their participation in NASCAR?
Yeah, well, Castrol's a brand that I think is associated with a lot of forms of motorsports, and we're proud to have that relationship on the NASCAR side with RFK. But you only get your first win once, and for any partner, we want to enjoy and celebrate that. And I haven't been privy to all those. I've been running really hard here, so honestly, I haven't been privy to all those conversations. But I will say we're really proud of the success we're having, and hopeful that it carries over. And our main partnerships are what makes that possible. So very happy for everybody at Castrol.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
We go over to Matt Weaver.
Hey, Brad, thanks for the time today. I believe the last, and I guess maybe only time you raced at Eldora, you were involved in a crash and then you got ate by a shark. So what do you recall about that night?
Yeah, 2013, I think it was. Maybe it was 14. I can't remember.
13.
I'd gone to the track a couple times to just watch. I said, I want to try this one time. And so we put together a truck effort for me to go there. And I think I was more lost than last year's Easter egg, but that was my first experience ever on dirt. And since then, we've run the cup races and some other things have happened. And I probably understand it a little better than I did going into it. But it was an interesting experience. It was very humbling. But I'm glad I got that experience and got that chance to do it.
And then the Sharknado bit too. What do you remember about the reaction to that?
Honestly, I don't remember much about it. I remember filming it, but outside of that, I can't remember much about it. But I've been very blessed to get to do some things that I never thought I'd get to do, including being ate by a robot / animatronic shark. And do some things with our friends in LA and Hollywood, and that was a unique time in my life. I keep telling them I want to win more races in a championship so I can do something with NBC. We'll see.
And then one more for you. Just you don't have a ton of dirt experience, obviously, besides the NASCAR starts, and a lot of these guys have done it the last couple of years in the SRX car as well. Like, do you feel like you could be pretty competent, or are these last two races going to be kind of a steep learning curve for you?
I went back and rewatched the SRX race from Eldora 2 years ago, I think it was. And, I feel like the little bit of NASCAR experience I have on dirt now, that I'll have a good opportunity to run up front. I know Ryan Newman's going to be tough. He's leading the points, and he's got some pretty good experience at these types of tracks. But regardless of that, anything can happen. I think we've seen that in all the SRX races today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Going to go to Owen Johnson from Cup Scene.
Hey, Brad, thanks for joining us. You've had strong runs in SRX, both with the run-in with Kyle kind of in the middle of the race. Does that strain your relationship with Kyle at all? And will you race any differently, knowing that that's the kind of move that gets wins in the series?
Well, I don't know if my relationship with Kyle could be any more strained. So I don't think that's I don't think there's any room for growth there. But outside of that, I think I'm still trying to figure out the ebbs and flows of how the series races. Certainly shorter races with high durability cars and the heat race formats. It's a different type of racing, and you're rewarded for different things. And I think it clearly took me a couple of weeks to understand that. And now that I understand, I think I'm more successful. So I would say always adapting would be my best answer, Owen. I don't know if I want to commit beyond that.
Thank you.
No problem.
Can we go to Jonathan Laster?
All right. Hello, everybody. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I have two questions. The first for Brad being, is there anything you've learned from the SRX that you've taken to the Cup Series and vice versa? And then one question for Don is, for the second straight season, you're ending the season with 2 straight dirt races. You announced Jonathan Davenport is going to be running the race next week. What's the feedback like from the dirt community?
I guess I'll go first and I'll hand it off to you, Hawk. But, Jonathan, I think there's always something to be learned when you drive a race car, and probably more so just being active with the reps. It means a lot to me. As I was talking when we started the call, I want to race. I'm a race car driver, and the more reps I get, the more confident I feel in the car. And so I think that carries over to the Cup side as well. And getting these reps as of late has certainly done well for me, and I'm looking forward to getting some more.
Yeah, as it relates to JD, honestly, the last two races we had an empty seat, and I tried to lasso a dirt ringer for both of them. And as you know, Knoxville Nationals is next week, so that made it a little more difficult to stretch your arm out and get somebody out there. So I just stretched my arm out, and I got to Chase Briscoe, who knows his way around Eldora quite well. But JD was a big get. I got to tell you, it's funny though. I was trying to get him for over a week, and every time I dial his number, it would click off, the guy saw your number, and like boom, right? Well, he doesn't know me from Adam, right? He knows of me, but he doesn't really know me. He doesn't have his phone. I don't have his phone number, but vice versa. So I look at Schrader, and he goes, "Hey, did you get JD yet?" And I said, because Schrader's the one to hook me up with his number. And I said, the guy won't answer his telephone. And he goes, "He probably doesn't know it's you." So Schrader takes his phone and literally texts him right there and says, if you get a call from his phone number, answer it. And like 7 minutes later, JD called me. So the rest is history. Or I called him, he texted, whatever. And for the racing community, if you look at it from the dirt side, they're all over it. Jennifer and Richard Marshall, they're flying in. They're already weighing in on it. A bunch of people in that dirt world are coming out just for that race. So we look forward to it, but he's going to have his hands full. There's a lot of guys that can drive on dirt, and SRX is a different kind of car. So it's not going to be a runaway.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
No problem.
Gonna go over to Bob Pockris.
Yeah, Brad, I'm curious. You kind of joked a little bit about your relationship with Kyle, maybe one joking, but I'm curious, like when you get moved like that in a race like this, like, are you as mad as you are if it happened on Sundays, or how is this or is this any different for you, whether it's because it's not, a 38-week season, I assume the money's different, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, it's you still want to win, right? And you don't want to be pushed around by anybody. So I guess short answer is I don't think of it any differently. I want the trophies.
So do you leave, so are you getting as angry or as and not letting things go? Or I don't know if you let things go, or does letting things go any different here than on Sundays?
I don't think so, no.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Hey, Bob. It's Hawk. Hey, I will tell you this. I listened to both of them on the radio, and I can tell you this. Kyle 100% was looking in his mirror when Brad was behind him. And we talked about it when it got to victory lane. He's like, I just had a feeling, and he didn't say what that feeling was, but I know he was mirror driving for a little while.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Brad couldn't get to him.
Thank you, Bob. So if
Thanks,
no one
Bob.
else has any more questions, I'll just give Brad and Don one opportunity to share anything, if there's anything on your mind about the upcoming race before we conclude for the day.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going to Eldora. Like we talked, it's been a while since I've been there, over almost 10 years exactly. And it's been great to see that the fan turnout and engagement at the tracks. It's a lot to be proud of. This series brings something that I think is very additive to motorsports. And, I had the opportunity to have a conversation with Ben Kennedy and Steve O'Donnell this past week in Michigan. And we talked specifically about that, how, it's not a competitor to NASCAR. It's an additive to everything we do here in motorsports. And for me, I feel that same way as a driver and an owner. I feel like it's done a great job. The series has done a great job of adding to motorsports and adding to even my skill set and marketability. And I'm really pleased for that and proud to be associated with the series. So thanks, Hawk. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate you guys for having me in the series, and looking forward to the next 2 weeks to bring her on home.
I appreciate that. Appreciate everyone that's on the call. And like Brad, I actually was going to say this before he said what he said. SRX just wants to be accretive. We want to be part of the high tide that lifts all ships. And if we can do that with IndyCar, with NHRA, because we got Caps in a car this weekend, or NASCAR, that's great. We know where we belong, we know our place, and we're having a blast.
Great. We appreciate everyone's time and look forward to seeing you this Thursday night.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, gang.
guys.
Appreciate it, champ.